Perhaps it's the most apropos to go through this old article now that we are a day away from New Year's. This article was posted on the 22nd of December, but given time away from the internet, it means that I'm getting to it later, which is probably what Mark here should have done. If you didn't see this one before, I know it's behind, but it says, Mark Hamill admits to being terminally online during the election made him crazy and ignored his daughter's advice to stop spamming political tweets. And like I said, the reason I wanted to cover it is because I myself find myself terminally online would be a good word for it. I think the differences between me and Mark is that I don't post terminally. If anything, I tend to be a lurker. I tend to be a reader, a watcher. You know, I analyze what I'm looking at. And a lot of the times I do that because I don't know what my own thoughts on it are, what they may be. And so often than not, you know, when you're tied to the news cycle, information is so fluid that whatever you say could be a vastly different opinion just a couple hours later as more information comes in. I think that's tied to being, you know, in a job that ties me to the news cycle. So, you know, that might be the reason for that. But let's go through this. I just think it's very interesting. And I would hope that Mark would recognize this and get away from the internet. It's a good thing if you can do it, especially if you find that it's affecting your mental health, which for many of us, it does. And I think a lot of people are in denial about just how much, you know, excessive time, whether it's going through X, whether it's going through Instagram, you know, if you care a lot about how you look, going through Instagram for excessive periods of time could be detrimental to you. If you're an extremely political person, spending a lot of time on X can be very informative, but very, very bad for you mentally, you know, and it's our job. I think we are kind of beholden to the idea that we should take care of ourselves so that we can be there for the people in life that we love. So let's go through it. It says, Mark went so hard for Kamala Harris during the election that many thought he was a paid shill for the campaign, but a new interview shows that the Star Wars actor may have simply lost his mind, saying that he was devastated by the election results. I don't think anybody has to actually buy into the notion that a lot of these celebrities are paid shills. I think a lot of them are. We saw a lot of that, you know, with the release of campaign, you know, the way the money was, you know, delineated or put out through the campaign through Kamala Harris. There was a lot of talk, you know, $100,000 for a fake caller daddy set, all that type of stuff. Celebrities got paid. We understand that they don't make those appearances for free, but a lot of them don't need to. A lot of people in Hollywood, a lot of artists are naturally far left individuals and see the world as such and consider it their duty to go out and campaign for Democrats. So, you know, don't even worry about it. Don't even think for a second that you have to be a paid shill to go out and campaign for Dems, especially if you're in Hollywood. Mark became the poster child for the first Joe Biden campaign as he infamously went to the White House to announce that he could... Oh, I forgot about this. He called him Joby-Wan Kenobi, and I think 10,000 people died of cringe the first time they ever saw that clip. I know I probably did and had to be resurrected. I had to be, you know, brought back to life after that happened. That was awful. It is one of the saddest moments in political history since Hillary Clinton announced Pokemon Go to the polls. Well, that's apropos, given the fact that Pokemon Go just ended up being a huge data mining operation. Isn't that funny? After it became clear that Joe Biden did not have the mental acumen to serve another term as president, Mark Hamill immediately shifted to being Kamala Harris's full-time supporter on his X account. His posts were so over the top that many speculated the Harris campaign paid him for his advertisements. Again, maybe not, but far left actors that are also activists, which is, you know, true of the old generation, even more true of the new generation as younger actors find their way into Hollywood. Being, you know, one of the things about being an actor now is you can't just be an actor. You have to have a brand that you're selling to everyone, you know, through social media. And a lot of those actors, part of their brand is some type of social cause. So that is not hard to believe, even if they're not getting paid, though a lot of them did. Now the embattled actor has given a new interview where he shows how bad his Trump derangement syndrome was. In an interview clip with Autism Capital, Mark Hamill is shown bumbling about his extreme leftist activism before he was saying, "First of all, I was devastated. I want to get rid of the Electoral College because Hillary Clinton beat him by 3 million votes. And Al Gore beat W by 500,000. Well, it doesn't take an idiot to understand why the Electoral College is important. One of the things that I find funniest is there was people going back and forth about where candidates were spending their last days of the campaign. And one of the things is that if there was no Electoral College, you would just see them campaigning in New York, in California. But what you do when you have the 7 swing states, especially, the ones that could go either way, is that you have to pay lip service, at least in theory, to the needs and the wants of the people in those states. And that's a good thing. We don't want the tyranny of the majority, as most Americans, I think, understand and agree with. He says, I started reading about the Electoral College, the remnants of slave days. He continued to spiral. In proportion of the amount of votes with how many slaves you owned, it was awful. But anyway, the Citizens United, I'd like to get rid of. As you said, you get most scorching hate tweets from the MAGA crowd. Yes, hate is a two-way street on the internet, Mark. If you're going to spew hatred out or generalize everyone and put them into a box or a bubble based on your, kind of comical views of what it means to be something, whether it means to be a Republican or to be MAGA or MAGA, whatever you call it, when you broad brush everyone, people are going to take issue with it and they're going to spew that same disdain that you have for them back at you. It is a two-way street that you are a part of, and anybody who chooses to engage with that online is a part of in some way or another. That's the internet. It's always going to be that way. There's nothing you can really do about it. I stopped reading responses to my tweets. I wouldn't block anyone because that would display Mark Hamill blocked me as a badge of honor, but I muted like a mofo. No, that's fine. Look, if you don't want to, you want to block, you want to mute, fine. That's your social media experience. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just that when you're extremely vocal, people are going to take it a certain way, but you're allowed to curate your social media experience the way you are, but you don't sound like you're open to new ideas when you're spouting very, very specific, very, very extreme political takes, and then you don't take any in return. People are going to judge it a specific way. I don't think you can fault them for that, just like I don't think they should be faulting you for having your opinion. They just want to be able to interact with you, even if they disagree with what you say 110%. He says, so once I realized it was eating into my own time, I said the only thing to do is to not read the response. You just can't. And someone said to me, my daughter said, Daddy, you shouldn't tweet politically so much. You shouldn't tweet politically so much because people get so angry. Well, she's right, but not even because of the anger, but because, look, we only have a finite amount of time on this planet. And it's one thing to spend a lot of time online, and we should all look to cut back on that. I talk all the time about the concept of touching grass and how important it is. For me, that's going out and going skating. For me, it's going out and getting physical exercise, because once you get the endorphins moving and you get your body flowing and moving again, you feel instantly better, and you don't realize how trapped you are into a digital prison until you escape it for a couple of hours at a time. And that's just from somebody who tends to spend more time looking and observing than actually engaging with people in a vitriolic sense. So look, we kind of live in a prison of our own making, because the algorithms that we each see is tailored to our experience. So I read a lot of tweets. I have my own stuff. It tends to be stuff about movies and television. I'd like to think most of it is good-natured. But, the more stuff that you engage with, the more your timeline is going to look like the stuff that you're engaging with. So if you're seeing content of a certain type, that is actually your own responsibility, because the algorithm didn't necessarily just send that to you. It was told this is a good idea to send it to you because you were engaging with stuff similar to it. So it's sad to say, but these are oftentimes a prison of our own making. It says, and so I wrote a tweet and said that people complaining about my Trump tweets have to understand I love my country, and I feel it's my patriotic duty to oppose this sociopathic, I forget the other word, whatever it is, with every fiber of my being. That's the way I've been. I do feel it's an obligation, and who cares about your career? People saying it's hurting your career because you have to appeal to the whole country, not just half the country or 45% or whatever the MAGA crowd is. But again, he's kind of he's conflating the idea that people who vote one way are all necessarily what he deems MAGA, which of course for him is a slur. But there's plenty of people who will vote as independents, plenty of people who would vote for a specific politician because they agree with some of their policy positions, not because they necessarily ideologically fall in line with Donald Trump or those who are part of his cabinet, those of them his most fervent supporters. So you're kind of broad brushing again. I think that's one of the reasons you got yourself into this mess, and that's a problem. He goes, but the grander scheme of things is, who cares if I lose a part in a movie because I hate the orange atrocity? I do, and I want people to know that. So I kind of think of this, and this is kind of where I'll leave this, because I think I've kind of made my point that, when you stare into this world and all you see is hatred and spew hatred, even if you feel that you're right, and most people online feel like they're the hero in their own story, when all you do is spew hatred because you feel that you're right, all you're going to get back is hate in the opposite direction. And we kind of once again become our own version of our own prisoners, because we don't know how to escape it, because the way to escape it feels like you're ceding ground to those that you disagree with. But I would ask if it was maybe the idea of hierarchy of needs, right? So look, maybe you don't value your career more than your political aspirations. Do you value your family more than your political aspirations, than things you care about in politics? Because it already seems to have affected family, and perhaps that is the wake-up call somebody needs. That, look, I get it, you feel very strongly about your leftist political causes, and you think that matters more than your job, okay? A lot of people are going to judge you. They're going to say, look, it's easy to take that perspective when you've made your money and you're now well-to-do and you don't have to work another day in your life, right? That's fine. I don't think a lot of people would actually forgive that when it comes to family. At least I'd like to think that the most rational people in the world would not forgive that when it comes to family. If the family, the people you love the most, the people that you've sacrificed so much of your time and energy for, are saying that this is becoming an all-consuming problem for you, then perhaps it's time to take a step back and think about it. That's kind of why I decided to make this video, even though the topic is 8 days old. Like, we're going into the new year. I had a week off of work. It was beautiful. And even for me, even after a week off work, we got 2 weeks off. We don't go back till January 6th, and I'm back at work because I don't necessarily do well with downtime. I get it. But we do have to take into account that the people around us matter, and we need to give our time, energy, and love to those people. And remember that the people on the internet, whether you agree with them or disagree with them, it's not real. Twitter is not real life. It isn't. I would be interested to know, look, there's going to be a lot of overlap as far as political views on this channel, even on a pop culture channel, just because we cover so much of how Hollywood has become so politically inclined. If you guys agree with me, or do you think it is, like Mark said, it is their duty to speak out about these things? Because I tend to disagree. I tend to say that your duty is to your family, your loved ones, the people in your immediate vicinity. Those are the people that you have the highest duty to. Let me know down below if you guys agree with me. Do you disagree? I'm guessing either way, even if you disagree with me, you disagree with most of what Mark Hamill has to say. But let me know down below. Have a happy new year, guys. This video is going to be coming out, I believe, the day after New Year's, but I hope everyone had a fantastic holiday, a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. We are going to be back with brand new episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Monday, January 6th at 3 p.m. Eastern. We are very excited to be back live, so stay tuned for that. Again, Happy New Year. Hope you guys had a Merry Christmas. Be well in the New Year. Later, guys. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.